Good afternoon, and thank you for this incredible honor. The work that I've always done has been a team sport, and so I am accepting this honor on behalf of my incredible colleagues, past and present, at the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, and on behalf of the dedicated civil servants that I had the true privilege to work with, both in federal service and at the District of Columbia. I'm lucky to have my father, my husband, family, friends, and colleagues with me today, and 3 professional mentors: Sheldon Danziger, who helped me build my analytic skills; Bob Greenstein, who helped me hone those skills and learn the art of advocacy; and Susan Steinmetz, who, among other things, helped me learn how lasting change requires strong organizations. The center sits at the intersection of research and policy impact. So I'm going to address today's question from the perspective of an organization that is both a generator and a consumer of high caliber data and research. In my view, this is an extremely dangerous time in our nation. Core tenets of our democracy are being undermined daily. Laws are broken, government functions are politicized, citizens and organizations are targeted for their beliefs. And there is a coarseness to our public life and debates that is nothing short of disheartening. And I think it's the coarseness of the debate that can make it hard to believe that evidence still matters. Let's just take one example. If our president, cabinet members, and elected leaders endlessly repeat a lie that people without a documented immigration status are eligible for health coverage programs for which they have been ineligible for decades, it is hard to get your mind around the idea that evidence on the impacts of health coverage programs on things like, health outcomes and financial security could possibly be part of the same debate. So I get it. But from the trenches of these debates where I sit, I believe evidence continues to matter. And we will need solid, unbiased evidence to see our way to a better future. But the way that we conduct research and communicate about evidence, that does need to change, and quickly, if research is going to help us write the next chapter in our nation's story. That's because the scale and speed and impact of policy change is so vast right now that our current practices, in my view, aren't up to the task by themselves. Now, whether you agree or disagree with the legislative and executive actions of the last 10 months, it's clear that those changes are very large and will have far-reaching impacts. But there are very few random controlled trial experiments to run here, and it will take too long for us to have survey data to help us untangle the impacts, and that's if those data remain trustworthy. Let me just use the July budget reconciliation legislation, though it pains me, as an example of why evidence is important and why the way we gather and share that evidence needs to change. First, evidence did play a vital role in that debate over that reconciliation legislation. The bill included major policy changes that are projected, because of research, to take health coverage and food assistance away from millions of people and increase barriers to benefits for millions more. Now, in my view, the best evidence made clear that the bill would be deeply harmful. That evidence didn't carry the day, but evidence has never been the only thing that's mattered. But evidence helped make the bill deeply unpopular, and the legislation passed by the smallest of margins. A few votes here or there, and I think there would be a conversation about how evidence was having its day. So as we move into this new phase of the work, understanding and documenting the law's impacts, evidence will be essential. Without it, neither policymakers or the public will be able to evaluate whether a course correction is needed. In the absence of evidence, anecdotes, misleading claims, and tropes, including deeply racist tropes, will be all that's offered in the debate. But to build the evidence that we need, research has to move more quickly. It has to be more tied to the complexities of the policy changes that are at hand. And it has to engage people who will be impacted more meaningfully than has sometimes happened in the past. There are scores of policy changes in this legislation, and they all have different implementation timeframes. On our website, we have a very complicated chart with 14 different colors to show you. States have choices about how to implement the changes and whether to seek to mitigate harm. Those states face substantial new costs at the same time that their own tax revenues have been hollowed out by their own tax policies. And states are going to make lots of different decisions. To understand impact means being willing to dive into these complexities, to work with people that are actually implementing or understand those nuances, to explore how data can be generated in real time, and to involve people who are impacted in ways that go beyond just asking them to tell their stories. People directly impacted understand how these systems work in ways that researchers simply can't. And listening to them at the front end can improve your research design tremendously. Some of the most urgent work of this moment is to understand the policy changes in whatever area you happen to study, plot a course to understand the impacts more quickly, more creatively, and more locally than you may have done before. But documenting impact isn't the only role of social science in this moment. Sharing effectively what you learn is essential. New research and evidence has to reach broad audience in our new media landscape while remaining accurate. So write the journal article, but don't stop there. Engage with press and policymakers, create videos and social media content, and help people tell their stories in ways that are empowering, not exploitative. If those things aren't in your wheelhouse, find partners for whom it is. Timely evidence presented in ways that build understanding will help instill trust in social science. And not only to inform this policy choice or that one, but about far broader questions about the country we want to be. Thank you again for this incredible honor. I am deeply moved to be receiving the honor in the name of Eleanor Roosevelt, a badass woman if there ever was one. I'm deeply grateful. Thank you.